Negotiation tactics. Um, there are certain negotiating tactics you can do. So, what can you expect when you're negotiating with Europeans? Or actually, not only Europeans, probably not all of them apply exclusively to Europeans, but what kind of negotiation tactics can you expect? So, tactics is more operational than a strategy, right? So the strategy is the bigger idea. The tactic is basically how do I get there. So the basically to put it into a metaphor, I would say that the strategy is you decide your destination, and on a map. So I want to go to Osaka, but there are multiple ways you can reach Osaka. You can go there by train, you can go there by car, you can go there by airplane. So the tactical level is more that you decide, okay, what means of transportation am I going to use? So there are different tactics. To give you a number of examples, the one tactic is you start with extreme demands. So basically, if somebody wants to sell you a car for 4 million, you can say, well, I'm not going to pay you more than 2, right? You just go half, and then take your time and negotiate and make very small concessions. Okay, 2.1, 2.2, and really try to wear somebody out. That could help. I know this tactic is very common in the Middle East. A lot of people drive a very tough bargain. They are very extreme in their opening bids, and then they take it very slow in making concessions. So basically, they're betting on the fact that the other side will run out of patience and run out of time, and they will get the maximum benefit out of their clients. This, of course, works best when you are going to the people have little time. So tourists, for example, are always the victim of this tactic.
Japanese people cannot make kind of small concession, right?
Right.
They just offer, okay, 4 million, 2 million.
Right.
Maybe they going to, okay, just take middle.
Right.
Sort of urgent conclusion they are chasing for.
Right. So they say, okay, let's split the difference, but people know that, right? So if Japanese people have a tendency to split the difference, to have this compromising negotiation strategy, if that is the normal way, they see a Japanese coming in, they say, okay, that's a compromiser, so let's triple the price. If we compromise in the middle, I still make 50% more profit.
Right.
So that is a tactic, and if that is the general way of doing a deal, they have all the time in the world usually, all those carpet salesmen. So they just make an extreme opening and slow concessions. It's very tiresome, that kind of negotiation. It's not very pleasant. I don't like it. So how to deal with it? Basically, you need to have a very clear idea about what you really want. Is that carpet really that important for you? Do I really need to buy a carpet while I'm on holiday in Turkey or not? What is a good way is actually to shop around a little bit and try to see, okay, if I would buy this carpet in Japan, how much would I be paying? And how much is that? Usually people don't think about that, right? So they go on holiday, they go to Turkey and think, oh, it must be a lot cheaper here. But maybe, actually, it's not that much cheaper than what they would be paying in Japan. But they don't know the price, so they don't have a BATNA. They go around all these shops and they figure out all the prices are the same. Yeah, of course, because everybody is looking at each other when setting the price.
Which one are you explaining?
This one.
Oh, okay.
All right. And so what you need to do in aggressive negotiations tactic like that, you need to have a very clear BATNA, and don't be ruffled by the negotiator. Just take your time, smile a little bit, walk away, and try to negotiate a better deal. But yeah, you really need to make sure whether it's worth it. And I think a lot of people who go to those countries from Japan probably end up not buying a rug in the first place. Commitment, commitment strategy, commitment tactic, not strategy, commitment tactic. So this is something that is all right. So basically, your opponent may say that his hands are tied and that he has only limited discretion to negotiate with you. So sorry, for this kind of concession, I need to contact my boss. It's a very often used tactic. In the States they love doing it. I had dinner with a friend of mine who's from the States who used to be door-to-door vacuum cleaner salesman in the United States. It's a really like it's the sales job of sales jobs. If you've done that, then you really have done hard sales, hard tactic sales, hard negotiation sales. They go out into these poorer neighborhoods and they try to find houses with certain characteristics, and they go in and they have a whole spiel and they try to persuade housewives into buying a vacuum cleaner before their husband comes home. They overpay a lot. They get huge commissions, and it's really basically it's kind of it's a pure sales deal. They don't deliver much value. It's really win-lose negotiation, a win-lose sales agreement. So, but this is what he told me about their tactics is that they very often say, okay, well, when they're negotiating, they always need to call the boss. But he was in this situation where he was almost making a sale, and he like he always did, called the head office, but everybody had already gone home. So actually, while he was on the phone, in the old days when you're on the phone and there was no connection, then the line will be cut off, and you hear doot doot doot. So and then he would say, "Oh, you know what? I was just in contact with my boss, and I can give you actually." And say, "You gotta be kidding me! I heard what's happening on the phone. Get out of my house." So these kinds of tactics is it is a tactic that you can do, but you need to figure out whether it's really true. And if people say, "Well, I cannot make this kind of commitment," and if they are actually right, and you need that commitment, that's the time when you actually need to step out of the negotiation. At least that's what a Westerner would do, né? So if you are going to negotiate with somebody and you actually need a concession that the other side claims that they cannot make, then you need to figure out whether that's actually the case. And if that is actually the case, a Western negotiator will leave the negotiation. Whereas that's a big trap for Japanese companies, right? It's a very big trap for Japan. They cannot decide. A Western negotiator is trained to always look for a decision maker to negotiate with. Otherwise, you're wasting your time. You remember the video of the guy from Stanford University, there was this audience full with graduates from Stanford University. There was this guy who gave all kinds of war stories about.
You did something.
I think we saw it twice. This video.
What was that?
It was it was about. He gave an example about a negotiation that they were doing in the Middle East, and while they were negotiating, they actually were taking away the flowers and the plants and everything else, and the entire office was being disabled. But the real what they discovered is that they came there, and actually the guy they were negotiating with was completely not in the position to make any decisions or the right person. So of course he said in his presentation, we completely wasted our time negotiating with somebody who couldn't make the decision. So we were all completely off. Now this is the general mindset of any Western negotiator. So Japanese delegations, if they do not delegate any power to the negotiator, people will leave. They will walk away.
Yeah. What was the example? I forget that.
Oh, it was with he was negotiating. I don't know exactly what. I think they were negotiating real estate. They were going to negotiate real estate, and I believe it was somewhere in the Middle East. He was there with somebody else, maybe his business interest. They were going to negotiate. It was with the bank. It was the bank so they were from real estate. They were negotiating with the bank, but the guy they were negotiating with, he actually did not have any influence. But he felt bad that there was nobody there because they came all the way from the States. So he took the time to negotiate, to kind of more or less negotiate with them. But then they discovered that he actually did not have the mandate to negotiate anything. So it was completely a waste of time.
Okay. I forget that.
Takashi-san is gone.
Toilet,
I don't know.
Tired.
ちょっと taking a nap.
4 hours is
I talked too fast maybe.
No. 4 hours is one title. It's very difficult to sustain their concentration. So my decision is separate 2 sessions.
2 times 2.
1 to 3, 3
Right.
to 5. I think 2 hours. I think most suitable time span.
So I did 2-hour workshops this week. So 9 times 2 hours, different audiences every time. That's
4 hours is too long.
4 hours is very long for most people. Yeah. Including you.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I want to change.
Right. Okay.
I sent it to mail for you.
Okay. Thank you.
Already I sent it.
Okay.